I think we can all agree that destroyers impact the game quite a lot. And so playing them in ranked can be an excellent way to get more wins. When you have a good destroyer player on your team, you can win way, way more games than if you have a similarly good cruiser player or a similarly good battleship player. It's just how it works. The destroyer class is just that impactful on winning. So if you're looking to win more, maybe try taking out a destroyer. Even if you are slightly worse in the destroyer class, it'll be good practice. And once you do get better in this class, you can pull off some pretty crazy wins and really carry your team to victory. It's quite a nice feeling to play destroyers if you haven't before. It is 100% down to decision making. It is very rarely about RNG. The worst RNG you're going to have to deal with is torpedo spread gaps, and that's about it, really. Now that AP pens from battleships don't really hurt you, everything is fairly consistent in the damage that it does to you, so you can run calculations based on risks and determine exactly what the likelihood of you making a good play or a bad play is. Here, this is a potentially very risky play that I'm making because I'm going in front of this island. If you don't know, going in front of islands is always a bad idea if you're going to get spotted and shot at, or if you're thinking you might get spotted at and shot at, it probably would have been safer to go around where the Stalingrad is, because your movement is limited. When you're playing a destroyer, you're very maneuverable, and that makes you hard to hit for enemy ships at longer ranges. But well, if you're limited by an island behind you, it's pretty easy to hit a destroyer when that's the case. You're kind of locked into a specific line. And so I got away with it, but that's just an example of a risky play that worked out fine. I didn't really get anything out of it, so it wasn't really worth the risk, was it? There wasn't much of a reward. So our Stalingrad's going to die, and possibly our Kremlin as well. We'll see. But for now, we know there's a lot of enemy ships over here, and so playing a destroyer is about making sure things get spotted and are staying spotted. Because your cruisers and your battleships aren't going to be able to do much when ships aren't spotted. Now, right here, we have an important decision to make. Do we shoot or do we not shoot? And you can see I decided to shoot. And the reason is this Thunderer is caught bow in, and Thunderers are well known as a very strong ship. Probably one of the best battleships in the game, overpowered, whatever you want to call it. But that's only when it's kiting away at the back of the map, when it can use its maneuverability to dodge shells, and when it can use its fast reload to just constantly light fires on enemy battleships. But when it's stuck bow in to a Stalingrad and a Kremlin, and there's a destroyer on its flank, it's not in the best of positions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and kill this Thunder. Thunders die relatively quickly. For a tier 10 battleship, they only have 82,000 HP. They don't have a super heal. They don't have a fast cooldown heal. They don't get a good special damage control. They're very vulnerable battleships. So playing in the way this Thunder is a massive mistake. And you can see just how low he's getting already. And our Stalingrad, well, he's dead here. He did get some pretty decent hits into the Thunder, and our HE pressure is going to be more than enough to kill him. The fire chance on Smaland especially is very, very, very good. But you could do this with literally any gunboat. This is more of the gunboat style on how to play a ship, or how to play destroyer in ranked. You kind of want to find where the enemy team is pushing, go there, and then farm the enemy battleships, cruisers, that kind of thing, as they push into your team. All the while spotting them as they shoot at you, and that, in turn, helps your teammates out. Spotting is very, very valuable. Knowing where enemy ships are is huge and very important. Right now, we don't really know where the enemy destroyer is, which is the only issue, but our Kremlin is playing relatively safe, and we're keeping this Thunderer lit, as well as possibly the Smolensk that's shooting at us, that kind of thing. So we kill the Thunder, we're up to 62,000 damage. Yeah, all guns, 62,000 damage that quickly. Now, you could have done that with any gunboat destroyer, really. And if you don't have a gunboat destroyer, you could have torped him. Keep him lit and just torp him, because he's going in a very predictable line. He's pushing up to sea. It's very predictable. Now you might be thinking, well, Smaland is an overpowered destroyer. That's the only reason you're doing good. Well, no, it's more down to good decision making and making use of tools that you have. So Smaland, yes, does have a lot of tools. It has a special speed boost. It has a radar. I don't know why I struggled to find the gearing here for a second, but having this radar gives me an incredible advantage against enemy destroyers, so I'm going to use that. If you don't have a radar and the enemy destroyer does have a radar, you need to bait that enemy destroyer with the radar into pushing too far in to make use of that radar. You can see I nearly got caught too far in myself because that Minotaur was there. And if I had gone all in to kill that gearing, I wouldn't have killed the gearing. I would have ended up dead because of that Minotaur being there. So that was a very good bait by that gearing and very smart play by the gearing to play near his Minotaur. But we didn't fall for the bait, so we're okay. We're alive, and it's fine. And you can see we've got 2 caps. A cap is totally under control. And I'm just spotting here. Honestly, I don't mind. I'll shoot a little bit, keep the Minotaur spotted, because sooner or later, a Minotaur that's focused on shooting a destroyer is going to eat a massive salvo from a battleship. Like, he's just way too focused in on killing me. And there you go. It just happens. A Minotaur has to focus on one of 2 things. They can focus on aiming and trying to reliably hit a maneuvering target at longer ranges because of the floaty shells, or they can focus on dodging. But it's really difficult to do both at the same time. So that's why I was trying to act as bait, and you can do that in any destroyer. Constantly spotting the squishier radar cruisers is always a very, very good thing. Here, I don't quite have my radar up, so I have to run away. So the gearing, in all likelihood, will get the C cap, but that's okay, because we put our torpedoes out for the Kremlin, and they also act as potentially really good torpedoes for the gearing. If he's in the edge of the cap and he's leaving the cap, we might clip him with 1, maybe even 2, and kill him. It's always a good idea to put out torps like that when you think you know where the enemy DD is. And there you go. We hit 1. These kind of random torps, as it is, can be done easier with RPF. I'm sure you guys have seen videos from people like Flamu on RPF torpedoes, and they're incredibly impactful. But you don't necessarily need to use RPF on your captain to know where enemies are going to be. There's likely areas where enemies are going to be at different points in the game, especially early game, early torpedoes. You can basically understand there's a few common routes that people want to take, and you can just torp those lanes early game. And then later game, when an enemy destroyer is capping, you probably know where they're capping from based on your team's positions and where the safest spot for that enemy destroyer to cap from would be. And then you can torp there. And we happen to hit a torpedo on the gearing. Smaland torps don't hit particularly hard, that's why he still has a reasonable amount of HP. But again, making use of our very, very good radar and trying to kill this destroyer. I think he's going forward here, that's why I'm missing my aim. And I'm okay with shooting here because I'm not going to keep getting lit. And there we go. Gearing is gone. And I could get caught here, but I know my Kremlin is pretty close by, so it's okay for me to not run away in this scenario. Because the Smolensk, it's going to take him a little bit to kill the Kremlin, because our Kremlin, well, Kremlin's got good armor, so even on that low HP. So I know I have time to sneak up here and get a sneaky little AP salvo into him. Even if our Kremlin had died, I think catching that Smolensk broadside with AP would have been more than enough to kill him. So there we go, 104k. We're up to 3 kills. Pretty nice. I think that this kind of playstyle is easily replicatable. Honestly, playing Gunboat Destroyer like this is pretty easy in that you just kind of use your concealment and make good decisions about where to position yourself to trade well with the enemy team. So early on, you saw me go behind this island to limit the number of ships shooting at me to kill the Thunderer. Later on, I'm pushing in to try and spot the enemy destroyers with my radar. And even if I don't have radar, I could still push in to spot the enemy destroyers because a gunboat destroyer, of course, is going to out DPM a regular destroyer. So it's not too difficult to play this playstyle. You're annoying battleships, you're annoying cruisers with your really crazy DPM, high DPM guns with lighting fires all the time. And the really nice thing about destroyer is the concealment, and you can just reposition and go almost wherever you want to on the map to get an advantageous angle or position to deal good damage from. And the main thing in rank that you want to consider is making sure you have at least one destroyer on each flank. Our gearing went to the opposite flank, which it's possible it would have been better for me to be over on the A flank, but that matters less than just having a DD on each flank if you have two destroyers. And if you only have one destroyer, send the destroyer to the contested cap. It's easy as that. But it's really, really important to split up your destroyers and for them to be actively spotting and scouting and trying to contest caps and spot different areas of the map. By me playing on the 8, 9, 10 lines and spotting those areas, my Kremlin that was with me this whole game knew he didn't have to worry about the gearing torping him from that angle. It's just little things like that. Just even being a presence on a side of the map is enough to deter the enemy. And in this case, we had a ton of damage and gunpowder to also kill the enemies. But you don't necessarily have to do that. Destroyers are just so powerful, even if you don't do too much damage. Just being a presence on a side, something that the enemy has to consider, is sometimes enough to just deter the enemy or make them make mistakes, that kind of thing. So definitely give destroyers a shot. They're not easy, but they're a lot of fun to play, and it's all down to decision making. It's really that binary. You make good decisions, you generally get rewarded. You make bad decisions, you usually die. That is the destroyer class, and it's nice because you're reinforced when you make those good decisions and when you make those bad decisions. It's a consistent reinforcement of what you've done, and then you can use that to get better, not do the bad decisions, do the good decisions more often, and then you'll slowly become a better and better and better player. It's a very, very, very good class for that. It's full of positive and negative reinforcement. But here's my Smaland build. If you're curious, this is what I've got right now. It's heavy, heavy gunboat damage focused. I don't even take concealment, you can see. And that's because of the radar. I'll explain that in a second, but we're just going for gunpowder because it's just that good. 1.4 seconds on the reload is amazing. And of course we have Adrenaline Rush that'll eventually get it lower and lower yet, but this is enough gunpowder to nearly 1v1 any destroyer. Especially if you're in an advantageous position or you know how to use the speed boost, which is a 30% speed boost to your advantage. These guns are very, very, very powerful. So again, reload mod, concealment here because we do need a little bit of concealment, which I'll explain in a second, and prop mod because we need to be able to dodge torpedoes if we're, stationary or reversing for whatever reason. Aiming systems because these guns have kind of wonky dispersion sometimes, and you want to hit as many shells as you possibly can. Engine boost mod 1. The engine boost normally only lasts, I think, a minute or maybe a little over a minute. It's a super powerful, super short engine boost, and making it last longer is definitely a good thing. And then pretty standard, keep your guns and torpedo tubes alive. But here's the reason behind not taking concealment on the captain. We have a 7.5 kilometer radar with 6.8 kilometer detection, and that's without concealment on this guy. So if we get spotted, that means somebody is within 6.8 kilometers of us. That means we can just pop our radar and instantly spot them back. That is the power of stealth radar. It's on a few cruisers, which is really busted, and I don't think should be in the game. And it's on this ship, and I think it's busted here too. Stealth radar is not fun. It's not interesting. It's just a kind of overpowered gimmick that really makes destroyer play hard, because you need to be not only seeing where the radar ships are, you now need to predict where the enemy radar is going to be, and that's really difficult. So I don't really particularly like this gimmick, but it's here, and it's very powerful. And it allows us to not even take concealment on our commander. If I remove concealment from the modules even, for example, 7.6 kilometer detection, and we have a 7.5 kilometer radar. That, I think, would be more balanced for this ship, if only slightly. I would say you probably should give it maybe even half a kilometer. Maybe they should have 8 kilometer detection to make it a little more balanced. If you're giving it a 7.5 kilometer radar, that half kilometer buffer might be good enough to allow destroyers to play around it a little easier. But as it stands, it's just really, 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 really strong. You could even play without any concealment, and the ship would be really good. But I think allowing people to get well within your radar range, into that 6.8 kilometer range of your radar before you pop it, is just really, really, really strong. And then, of course, being able to take extra gun range and extra gun reload, these kind of things, is definitely powerful when just dealing with other enemy ships. You saw how fast we burnt down the Conqueror, or Thunderer, sorry. And that's all because we don't need to take concealment. And it's only a 19-point commander. So, very strong ship. Let me know in the comments if you're curious about playing a ship that's not a Smaland in ranked. I have a pretty good gearing ranked game, and I don't think anybody would call this ship overpowered. So if you want to see that, let me know. I could talk a little more about decision making and that kind of thing when you don't have all these gimmicks. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.